LGBTQ youth needs our support. State lawmakers have proposed a record 238 bills that would limit the rights of LGBTQ Americans this year alone. That is more than 3 per day. Nearly 670 anti-LGBTQ bills have been filed since 2018, according to data from the American Civil Liberties Union. Nearly all of the country's 50 state legislatures all having weighed at least one bill.
And Chasten, what have the last few weeks been like as you've seen this play out in Florida from afar?
You know, as a recent father, I've been thinking a lot about what it would be like to be living in the state of Florida as an LGBTQ family. I think this bill is vague on purpose because it is trying to silence or push families, students, and LGBTQ individuals back into the closet. And I'm worried, not only as just an individual of the community, but as a father. I'm wondering what it would be like if my kid were going to school and talking about the great weekend that they had with their dads. Is a teacher supposed to censor my kids? Are they supposed to silence my kid and say, hey, we can't talk about that here? And I think these lawmakers are choosing extremely vague language because they want teachers to be fearful of talking about these subjects.
And Amit, the legislation states that these lessons, quote, may not occur in kindergarten through grade 3 or in a manner that is not age appropriate or developmentally appropriate for students in accordance with state standards. Break down for us exactly why you view this bill as detrimental, given that it does have the caveat that the material should not be taught in a manner that is not age or developmentally appropriate, as opposed to outright banning it.
Well, we've heard from a lot of teachers, and I spoke to teachers from Florida recently. They are confused about what that wording actually means. And when you create intentionally vague language that has certain types of censorship or bans in it, it's going to lead to a lot of fear, and it's going to lead teachers to be worried they're going to lose their jobs if they talk about something.
What are teachers supposed to and not supposed to talk about? This is, again, why they want extremely vague language. The other side of the aisle was asked to add an amendment to make this an anti-sex education bill, which they repeatedly said we should not be teaching this in the classroom. There already exist laws in the book, in Florida that prevent that kind of instruction. So as a teacher, I'm very confused about the purpose of this bill.
66% of all LGBTQ young people polled in a recent study by the Trevor Project said their mental health had been negatively affected by recent debates about state laws restricting the rights of transgender people. When asked about what is the most important issue affecting the world, in their opinion, most LGBTQ youth stated racism, followed by the inequality of LGBTQ individuals, climate change, and homophobia. Most poll respondents said that anti-LGBTQ hate crimes, 80%, and homophobia, 81%, were the issues that caused them the most stress and anxiety. According to data from the 2017 National Youth Risk Behavior Survey of surveyed LGBTQ students, LGBTQ kids are more likely to suffer from despair, suicidal ideation, drug abuse, and sexual activities that put them at risk for HIV and other sexually transmitted illnesses. In comparison to 6% of heterosexual children, over 1/3, 29% of LGBTQ youth attempted suicide at least once within the previous year. Individuals under the age of 18 are involuntarily guided by decisions made by adults in positions of power. These choices are based on antiquated experiences and information. Family structure and dynamics are incomparable to the expectations from 50 years ago. A specific piece of recent legislation continues the mental and physical demolition of LGBTQ youth. HB 1557 the Parental Rights in Education bill prohibits classroom instruction on sexual orientation or gender identity in kindergarten through grade 3. This legislation is meant to stigmatize LGBTQ people, isolate LGBTQ kids, and make teachers fearful of providing a safe, inclusive classroom environment. The existence of LGBTQ students and parents is not a taboo topic that has to be regulated by the Florida legislature.
Have you guys had that conversation as a family?
Yeah.
And what's that like?
It's kind of like sad.
It feels like someone is really just trying to, again, push you aside, push you back, slowly back into a closet, back into a corner, because of quote-unquote parental rights.
When educating the minds of our youth, we must not forget to educate their heart. While the repeal of this bill will be the ultimate goal, amending current legislation to better protect the youth it affects is an imperative first step. As an advocate, an amendment that we would like to propose would focus on ensuring school staff do not take it upon themselves to out a child. If they do so, the child should receive damages from the Department of Education. The proposed amendment would read, a student whose school reveals their sexual orientation to the student's parent or guardian pursuant to this paragraph and causes irreparable harm to the student may bring an action against the Department of Education for injunctive relief. A court may award damages and shall award reasonable attorney fees and court costs to a student who receives this injunctive relief. HB 1557 effectively silences students from discussing LGBTQ family members, friends, or neighbors, and prevents LGBTQ students from speaking about their very existence. How can we make this amendment happen? Start first with contacting your local government.
Florida, 1970s. Anita Bryant goes on a crusade against Florida's gay community, lasting years and spreading nationwide.
A Florida House committee passed a bill last week that would ban discussions about sexual orientation or gender identity in schools. It's being called the Don't Say Gay bill.
Florida's dark anti-LGBTQ history has emerged again, banning books, silencing teachers, legislating our bodies behind closed doors. He wants more surveillance in every part of our lives, empowering legislators to police classrooms, doctors' offices, and the workplace.
And it can do the worst things to kids when they learn from a very young age that I am unwelcome, something about me is wrong, and I can't even talk about my dads or my moms in school.
The attacks now are the worst we've seen in more than 25 years. Your lives matter, your stories matter, and most importantly, your voice matters. You can help defeat legislation that we haven't seen since the days of Anita Bryant.